This is the European Parliament's building in Brussels. Many people think of the Parliament as being incredibly remote with perhaps little impact on their lives, but in actual fact, the policies that are decided here have massive impacts on almost everything that we do. Maybe up to 50 or 60% of social policy, around 90% of environmental policy is actually decided here in Brussels, and that's what makes it so important to have the right MEPs, the right members of the Parliament with the right policies. And I think that's what makes it so important that Green Party members are here shaping policy in Brussels. Well, this has been a press briefing organised by the Green Group in the European Parliament, really to flag up to the media our particular concerns about the energy package which will be launched by the Commission tomorrow. On the Renewables Directive, we're concerned again, it hasn't been done looking at the actual potential for countries to reduce their dependence on fossil fuels and to invest in renewables. And of course on biofuels, one of the most controversial issues, we're arguing very, very strongly that we should get away from this mandatory 10% target of vehicle fuels coming from biofuels by 2020. It's clear that there are massive social and environmental negative impacts from biofuels. It's clear that many of them don't even deliver a very strong net greenhouse gas benefit in terms of the reductions that they achieve. My next meeting is with someone called Elliot Edwards. Waste plastics are being shipped, in this case from Ireland to China for reusing, recycling. But essentially the plastic in question is deeply contaminated. It comes from farms. They've discovered it includes things like dead calves, manure, faeces, bedding, fodder, soil and seeds, not to mention chemicals. There's a real worry, particularly with concerns about the spread of animal diseases. So what he wants me to do, I think, is to raise this in the Parliament, to ask some questions of the Commission, to try to get the spotlight on the Irish government to ensure that they put a stop to this practice as soon as possible.
I've now been provided with some photos documenting two particular shipments originating out of particular farm yards in the Republic of Ireland. They've been recorded and followed until the point they arrived in Rotterdam. We've notified the Rotterdam harbour authorities.
Did they say anything that indicated any concern when they first looked at it when it arrived from Rotterdam? Did you hear anything?
Yeah, they were unaware of the contents.
Yeah.
It seems to be something that's going on in other member states. It's not solely an Irish problem. Yeah.
Caroline speaking. Hello, hi. Yeah, good, thanks. We're looking at the impacts on small businesses, on suppliers, on workers and consumers, and in particular to assess whether there are indeed abuses of buying power. If we're talking about Britain in particular, I think we can see what's been called Ghost Town Britain, where basically these big supermarkets drive out from the local streets the smaller stores, and so people have less choice, not more, because they lose their local grocer, they lose their local butcher. Hi, good to see you. Sorry to keep you waiting. Hi, it's really good to see you. Sorry to keep you.
There's about half of the whole capacity on the system is going to be replaced down a lot of the network. So you're talking tens of billions of pounds investment over the next 20 years under any scenario. And so there is actually a huge opportunity to retool the whole system to a low carbon system. But this is obviously a complete antithesis.
And it also means that it's a block to the renewables investment. In that you either have one or the other in terms of market share and all the rest of it, which has been the same argument over nuclear.
We won't be able to ramp up the level of low carbon technology very easily because we'll rebuild the entire system around coal plants.
There's going to be a directive within 2 years from the EC, which is going to make it mandatory to be CCS ready. But that just means the field, basically.
There was one more thing we wanted to talk about, which is biofuels.
Whenever you raise the issue of the social and environmental impacts of biofuels with the Commission, they keep saying, well, the sustainability criteria will take care of all of that. But even if the WTO isn't an issue, and we're not quite sure about that, then certainly I think the issues around monitoring and implementation certainly are. And the idea that in some of these incredibly remote areas, in some cases, that there's going to be very serious monitoring about what's going on, and that's going to feed back seems to be quite a cookie land to manage. That's not going to happen. But there is a momentum behind this now. I mean, they're getting to the point where keeping to that target just looks so perverse. I mean, there was that wonderful quote from DMAS the other day, kind of saying, yes, it's a real problem, but no, I'm not going to stop the target. Stop the target. It just looks stupid. Well, I think that was a really interesting meeting, and one thing I'd really like to look at is how quickly we could ask the Commission about the strategic environmental assessment, really, about the whole number of coal-fired power stations, because I don't think we need to wait until there's documentary proof of 7 of them. I think
no, for sure, and it's outrageous that they're trying to skirt it in that way, isn't it? So yeah, no, we should do that.
Yeah, it was quite interesting about the CCS directive, carbon capture and storage. Can we try and find out what the definition is at Commission level of what CCS ready actually means.
Yeah.
Because it's quite shocking if it literally just means having a pipe and a field next door to put it on.
Yeah.
I'm on my way to visit Commissioner Potočnik with a delegation of about 4 other members of the European Parliament. And the key thing we want to ask him is to put more money into non-animal tests. Essentially, there are so many pieces of legislation going through the European institutions at the moment, like, for example, REACH, which is a piece of legislation about chemical safety, or the Cosmetics Directive. All of these, at the moment, require massive amounts of animal testing. I believe that that kind of animal testing is unacceptable. We need massive investment into alternatives to animal tests. What I want to hear from the Commissioner today is that he's willing to put his money into doing that. So here is the office of Commissioner Potočnik. We'll be going in there asking that he puts far more money into alternatives to animal testing. I hope very much that when I come out, we'll have a guarantee from him that that's what he's going to do. Well, we heard a lot of very nice rhetoric about how committed the Commissioner was to increasing the funding of ECFAM, but we had no firm commitments. What I kept asking for was a figure that we would know would be an increase in research monies going into non-animal tests, and I wanted a date by which we would have that figure. He repeatedly refused to give me that. He kept saying, funding is not the issue. If funding is the issue, I'll give more money. But he never mentioned a single figure. He never mentioned a single date. And until we have that, I think there are still some serious concerns that remain. The work that's done here by Green members of the European Parliament is absolutely crucial in shaping the kind of legislation that comes out of it, in terms of everything from international trade to animal rights, from climate change to human rights. We're very effective as a Green group with representatives from right across Europe, but we'd be even more effective if we had more of us here. And that's why I would say to you, please do vote Green, please do become part of this movement, join the Green Party, because it really will make a difference to the legislation that comes out of this place. It really will make a difference to putting sustainability and fairness at the heart of policy right across the European Union.